Star Fox Adventures is a game that has a notorious development story. Odds are, if you're watching this video, you already know it began as a different IP entirely, called Dinosaur Planet, and that Miyamoto came in and said, hey, make that a Star Fox game, actually. Or something along those lines. The world building of the main planet shown in Star Fox Adventures, Dinosaur Planet, suffered a bit in the process of the development changes, which saw drastic cuts in terms of story. This is often the reason cited for why some things in the game just make little sense, or why some of the pacing, especially in the last fourth of the game, feels so weird. While the game had a very troubled development cycle that really no doubt left holes in the world building shown in the final product, I found that far too often people have used that as an excuse for sections of the game that just don't really feel thoroughly explained. As someone who has been researching not only Star Fox lore but also Dinosaur Planet lore since the early 2000s, I've seen the same old tired arguments time and time again. While the cuts did take out a good portion of this game's world building, there's quite a bit left to explore. And one of the biggest things to discuss are the
SpellStone!
SpellStone. SpellStone.
A SpellStone?
SpellStone. A SpellStone!
In video game terms, these are the MacGuffins that Fox must collect in order to put the planet back together again. In the finalized version of Adventures, there are 4 SpellStones in total, 2 belonging to the Volcano Force Point Temple and 2 belonging to the Ocean Force Point Temple. I'll let Madame Queenie tell you all about these bad boys and why they are significant.
This planet is rich with a magical force. A force so strong that it is continually pushing our world apart. To stop this, 4 SpellStones were placed inside the Force Point temples.
Okay, that's a bit weird.
When you're a kid, you probably don't think too much about the reason for why you're collecting what you're collecting in these video games. I know, when I was a hatchling, I didn't think too much on it. But as I got older, I started to really question the Dinosaur Planet SpellStones and why the planet functioned in this way. I mean, how is it even possible that a planet formed in a way in which the SpellStones were necessary? It's easy to chalk this up to video game logic. Video games generally have objectives you need to fulfill in order to beat them, and really, the SpellStones are no different. But what if I told you there is potentially an in-game lore reason for the SpellStones that actually coincides with another piece of lore that's rather hidden within the game? Get ready, because we're about to talk about rocks. Well, magic rocks. Also, we're gonna talk about the moon. A couple years ago, when I was replaying the game for probably the 1000th time, I was mulling over the necessity of the SpellStones and how the heck a planet could form in a state that it was constantly pushing itself apart. And then I remembered a piece of lore that I feel is often overlooked. And suddenly, things started to make a lot of sense. You know, I don't love Moon Mountain Pass. It's always creeped me out. The lack of music replaced by that unsettling ambience, the creepy enemies that live there, it just doesn't feel like a natural place. And that's because it's not. According to the PDA map in the game, Moon Mountain Pass formed when one of Dinosaur Planet's moons crashed into its surface. This was the event that led to the birth of the Sharpclaw. The game doesn't really delve into why this happened or how this led to the Sharpclaw coming around, but we can probably assume it was due to the environment changing and, you know, just good old evolution. A moon colliding into a planet is a pretty devastating event. One that, let's be real, would probably destroy a planet in the process. The fact that the moon simply embedded itself into the surface of Dinosaur Planet is pretty incredible, actually. Now, we could say that maybe it happened that way because this is a kid's game, and the idea of a moon colliding into something wouldn't actually end the world, right? I mean, I wouldn't say that to the citizens of Termina. They probably wouldn't agree. When we step back and really look at this event, I think a picture starts to form. We know the Krazoa, the godlike peace spirits of Dinosaur Planet, have seemingly been on the planet for ever, basically. We know they are extremely powerful, but even their powers have limits as they require guards and hidden shrines to secure them from general scales. Given all of this information, it's entirely likely that the Krisoa witnessed the fall of the moon onto Dinosaur Planet and were unable to stop it. Not entirely, at least. Let's go back to that question that I had before. How is it even possible that a planet formed in a way in which the SpellStones were necessary? How could a planet form in a state where it's constantly trying to push itself apart? The initial question that I asked myself is actually faulty because that assumes that this has been the status quo forever. What if it hasn't? A whole moon falling onto a planet would be nothing unlike Earth's very own Cretaceous-Paleogene extinction event. The asteroid impact credited with causing the mass extinction of 3/4 of the planet. The one that killed the dinosaurs, in other words. When we think of this moon falling onto Dinosaur Planet, it could have potentially wiped out the entire planet. Instead, it just formed into part of it. And I theorize that is due to the Krazoa's interference. I think they did something with their powers to save the planet. And that something caused the moon to not obliterate the planet, but simply reshape it. Unfortunately, I believe there were consequences to this. While Moon Mountain Pass was able to form, this was effectively an invasion of something totally new. Something that disrupted Dinosaur Planet's ecosystem and its magic. During Fox's first visit to the Volcano Force Point Temple, Peppy talks about how Dinosaur Planet's core is constantly forcing up powerful streams of magic. This magic is constantly trying to tear the planet apart. So the Krazoa built temples in the areas they noticed the most energy coming up from the core. These are the force points we visit in the game. And then the Krazoa made the SpellStones, which they placed within the temples to absorb that powerful energy. This created the system that the planet has now, a system where all life on the planet hangs on the balance of 4 stones being in their proper place. And when those stones are removed, disaster is assured. I want to take this theory a step further and say that I believe the moon falling onto Dinosaur Planet was the start of the end for the Krazoa. As I talked about in a previous video, we don't really know the nature of the Krazoa. They could be spirits in the sense that they're magical beings, or they could be actual ghosts. The game never clarifies. Regardless of what you believe, I think we can all agree the Krazoa's reign over Dinosaur Planet diminished over time. Krazoa Palace is a crumbling mess by the time we arrive, and while there's traces of more Krazoa structures all around the planet's surface, a lot of them are hidden away or just forgotten. It feels like these buildings come from a different era, a different time when the Krazoan race were more than just the 6 spirits we encounter. There are no records stating any sort of reason that the Krazoa would have fallen out of power or just become the meager amount we see in the game. It's entirely possible something else caused it, but what could have been more devastating than an apocalyptic event like the moon falling onto the world? I think while members of the race persisted, at least long enough to build the Force Point temples and forge the SpellStones, I think this event still caused a lot of damage. Maybe even where the moon fell was once a central place for the Krazoa. Maybe the cost of saving Dinosaur Planet had even been the lives of most of the Krazoa. While I'm sure we'll never get an answer to this, as I'm not really sure Nintendo ever intends to revisit the Krazoa or Dinosaur Planet to this level of detail, I wanted to present this theory because for me, it answers two questions. Why did the SpellStones become necessary? And what really happened to the Krisoa? Thank you for watching today's theory video. I've been really excited to present this one for a while now, and I have a lot more StarFox videos being worked on as we speak. Please be sure to like the video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe for more StarFox gaming and Nintendo content. I'll see ya in the next one.